Good morning, friends. Welcome to part 2 of the Summerween vlogs. We are on day 3 now, and it's finally not 1,000,000 degrees, so I can wear my spooky dog shirt. It rained a little bit yesterday. The high is only 87. It's gonna be such a cool day. Okay, so if you missed part 1, I'll link in the description, but a little recap for you. We read Mexican Gothic, and we are almost done with horror movie. And I want to check in on the prompts for Summerween because I have not been paying attention to them at all, and I would like to complete them, so I think we should get going on that. Here are the prompts. The first one is to read a book in the dark, which I'm not gonna say we've completed yet, so let's make sure that we do that in this video. Prompt number 2 is to read a thriller or horror book. We read some horror, go us. Number 3 is to read a book with a night sky on the cover. Okay, do you think that counts? It's kind of like a night sky. The sun is setting. It's an evening sky. Okay, number 4 is to read a book with 5 words in the title. Okay, obviously Mexican Gothic and horror movie aren't gonna count for this, but Everything the Darkness Eats is on our TBR, and Everything the Darkness Eats. Wow, I can't count. 4 words in the title, not 5. Math is hard, that's all I'm gonna say. Okay, this is 5 words though. Sisters of the Lost Nation. I can do math. These were not originally on the TBR, but maybe they need to be added to the TBR. The 5th one is to read a book that takes place in the summertime. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, let me know in the comments. Books with 5 words in the title, books with a night sky on the cover, and books that take place in the summertime. Bonus points if they are horror or thriller, because I would really like to stick to spooky, scary things. They can be like cozy, scary as well. Like a graphic novel about a witch would be nice. I truthfully have no plans today other than I would like to get outside because it has been so hot and it's finally not 100 degrees outside. I'm gonna get my day started and then we'll get reading. I just finished Horror Movie. I think that's one of the best horror books I have ever read. I sort of feel like I've been waiting for my perfect Paul Tremblay, and I loved the Paul Bearers Club. I really, really enjoyed this. But all I want to do right now after having finished Horror Movie is go to the store immediately and buy the physical copy and read it physically. The audiobook was so incredibly well done, like so well produced, and that makes me think that the physical copy is as well produced, especially because this is what the Pallbearers Club looks like. Has that same feeling of the Pallbearers Club where you're not really sure if this is all a bit or if it's real or what's going on, if our narrator is lying to you or if he's telling the truth, and just all of this drama around this film that was never released but has this cult following, and then actually getting to see what and the horrors that happened on that set, and also just really being in the minds of these kids, these teenagers who are trying to figure out their relationship with life and death. And there's a lot of suicidal ideation going on in here, and there's a lot of really grappling with the idea of death and the idea of being an active participant in your death or the idea of being a passive participant in your death. If I had had this book as a teenager, I would have felt so seen and so heard. I loved every single page of this. This was so good. It was horror, it got scary. I think if you were wanting more horror out of the Pallbearers Club, this goes there. This goes there. I think it's so well done because the whole time you're in this horror movie, but it's a movie set, but bad things are still happening in reality. It's giving you more horror than you otherwise would expect in something that's a little bit more literary. I think it's incredible. It's one of my favorite horror books of all time. It's up there with My Heart is a Chainsaw. You're gonna see it probably on my top 10 of the year. I'm now getting worried because I keep telling you that you're gonna see things in the top 10 of the year, and I just don't know how I'm possibly gonna have a top 10 if all of the books keep being this good. I'm so impressed by this book, and I'm gonna need a little bit of time to process this. So Dan is on his way over. We're gonna go on a really long walk because it is so nice out, and then we will pick our next read. In the meantime, you should order on your phone or run to the bookstore and buy Horror Movie because it's incredible. Hello, I'm a bad YouTuber. I didn't vlog at all the rest of yesterday, and I also didn't read anything at all the rest of yesterday. I am about to take my lunch break from work, and we're gonna go on a nice long walk and start a new book. So I have two things that I'm thinking about. I wanted a fun thriller. So originally I thought I was gonna read this book, Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies, but I cannot get it anywhere. So it's on hold at my library, but it's gonna take like 10 weeks for that to come in. So instead, I looked up a list of like fun thrillers. I feel like I've been reading a lot of horror and I've been watching a lot of horror, and I really just need like a fun murder mystery thriller, over the top, silly moment. So I have two options from the same author. This is Kismet, and it's this girl who moves from New York to Sedona and ends up in like the self-care business, and then people start turning up murdered and she makes friends with some ravens, and that's really all I know about it. That's the one I'm leaning towards, but in case that one doesn't go super well, there's also this one, which is called Fashion Victim, which just seems absolutely over the top and insane, and I do love a fashion moment. So we could also read this one. I think there's like a competition for a promotion between her and her coworker. They're obsessed with each other. People die, it's entertaining, we have fun. I'm gonna try Kismet because I would count this as like a night sky. I know it's maybe not super night, but the clouds are dark enough that I'm gonna count it for that prompt. Okay, let's get reading. Hello, we're in the car. I just got groceries. I want to run into the bookstore to see if they have a copy of Horror Movie. I just want to see if it's marked up and what the format of it is, and if I might, I'm trying not to buy books right now, but I might have to. Oh, also, I DNF'd Kismet because I didn't like it, and I decided not to pick up the other one as well. I bought Every Time I Go on Vacation Somebody Dies because I needed it, and once again I forgot to cancel my Audible membership, so I had a free credit basically. Well, I paid for it, but I had a credit that I need to use. If you've read Kismet, let me know. Tell me in the comments, because I just have a feeling that it's going to be supernatural in a way that I'm not going to like. Like, the ravens seem to be a character in the plot, and these birds are telling people to murder other people, and it seemed a little bit too silly. So instead, I'm reading a different silly mystery thriller book. It's really hot in here. Let's go into the bookstore and see what Horror Movie looks like. Okay, very useful, very successful bookstore trip. I found Horror Movie, and it does have like the screenplay in it, and my hair is all over my face. I almost bought it, but I decided not to, because we're trying to be not acquiring new things. But I think if it makes it into my top 10 of the year, I'm definitely going to pick up a copy, because I could see myself rereading this in the future, and I would love to reread it physically. But I think the audiobook is just so well produced. If you're someone who is debating reading this physically versus audiobook, I would do Horror Movie as the audiobook, because it was just so well produced. And I feel like sometimes a lot of audiobooks that are produced like that are tough to listen to at 2x speed if you're someone who likes to listen to audiobooks faster than they're recorded at. And sometimes like the background stuff ends up like not working at a faster speed, but this one, it worked for me. I listened to it at 1.8x speed, I think. I also found How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey, which I also wanted to look at in person, because the first book I read by him is episode 13, and that one had like a lot of like text messages and stuff in it, and I wanted to know if this one was going to be multimedia as well, and it doesn't look like it is. So if there is an audiobook, I now know that I can just grab the audiobook instead of buying the physical copy. Let's head home before all my groceries melt, and then I will give you more of a introduction to the book that I'm now reading. We are back home. Let me tell you about the book that I am reading. I'm really enjoying this. I'm like maybe a third of the way, maybe 40% of the way through this. I'm having such a fun time. I heard about this because I was watching Kayla's first Summerween vlog. She pitched it as similar to Finley Donovan and Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, which are both books that I loved. And I think this really is like the perfect mixture of those two books, because we get the banter between our main character and her sister, who is her assistant. So our main character is this author who is super famous. Kind of accidentally, she had this like whirlwind romance, solved some robberies, and then like wrote a book about it. It blew up, and now it's this long series. Through this interesting course of events, the guy that she had this whirlwind romance with, she put him in the book, and he ended up like kind of blackmailing her and getting a cut of her advance and a cut of the royalties that she makes off of these books, because she is portraying him in the book. So anyways, they're now on this tour. Her sister is her personal assistant and is so good at her job, really holding everything together. And so you kind of get that same type of dynamic between like Vero and Finley that we get here with our main character and her sister. It's just a really accurate sibling dynamic, and I'm really, really enjoying it. The premise of this is that this guy who is featured in her books, who's getting a cut of her paycheck, he thinks that someone is trying to kill him. And so I think that is the mystery that we are trying to solve is someone trying to kill him? If so, who is that person? And our main character, the author, is also trying to kill him off in her book because she doesn't want him to keep being in her life, and she doesn't want him to keep profiting off of the work that she's doing. I'm having a really good time. It does break the fourth wall. It talks direct to reader. It's kind of like letting us in on the quirks of this. It also is very of the moment. It's making like Love is Blind references and Bridgerton references. So it is very much like of the moment in the references to pop culture and things. I would recommend reading it as soon as possible if you want to read it, because I feel like these references are gonna feel a little outdated the further that this book gets from its publication date. But so far, I'm having a much better time than I was having with the other book that I'm reading, so. Okay, my loves, here's the situation. We ran out of time. It is almost midnight. It's 10 minutes to midnight right now, and I have not been able to read anymore because we had work to do. So here's how we're gonna end this vlog. I'm gonna read an essay in here, the one that's Jaws, which is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So we're gonna read the Jaws essay, and then we'll have to wrap this vlog up here. I'm sorry it's a short one, but we'll have 3 days for the final vlog, which will come out on Friday. So I'm gonna go and read this in bed, and then we'll wrap this up. Essay has been read. It was very interesting and not at all what I was expecting. The author is suggesting that the male characters in Jaws could be queer and that there's a lot of physical intimacy between them and just like casual touches. Really what her point ends up being is that this dichotomy of straight or not straight is just so unhelpful, and how as a kid and as a young adult trying to figure out her sexuality, she would engage in casual touch like that with friends, just like exploring things and, you know, just being a kid running around and like spanking your friend. And then her grandma really made her feel a lot of shame for that, even when that touch like was not sexual, it was just kids playing. And then later existing in those in-between spaces in order to safely explore her sexuality and understand what it was that she wanted, and basically equating this situation of the ocean and Jaws not being one thing. It is both the livelihood for the people of this island, and it is how they make their money, and it is an economic necessity for them, and it is also destruction because of this shark that is eating people. I don't know, it was interesting. Not my favorite essay that I've read from this book, and to be completely honest with you, I don't know if Jaws needed to be a part of that conversation. But sometimes as an author, if you want to make a statement about something and have a conversation, you need to give people an entry point into that, and making a claim that the men in Jaws are queer or gay is an attention-grabbing title and something that is going to get people to listen to what you have to say. So I'm not mad at it. It wasn't probably the most impactful thing I've ever read, but I really liked this point about why are we spending so much time thinking about labels, because labels, while they are helpful for some people to really identify with an identity, they also kind of make it so that we don't have this space for the in-between, which is where most of us live anyways. Okay, that wraps up days 3 and 4 of Summerween. These have been very busy, very exhausting days. I'm going to go edit. I love you all very much. I will see you on Friday for the final installment. We will have the last 3 days of Summerween in that vlog, and I will do my very best to read more things. I know a lot of you told me that you wanted me to watch Us or Get Out or The Birds, so hopefully we will watch one of those. But my friends, I'm spooked out. I had sleep paralysis the other night. I don't know if I can do another horror movie, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can do it in the last vlog. Okay, good night, goodbye. I will see you on Friday.